Welcome back, everybody. You'll never guess what we're talking about next. Yes, it's those two letters again, AI. And we're going to be talking about one of those areas that's all the things that AI can do, all the things that AI can't do. We're going to be talking about creativity. Because surely creativity is the human realm, right? That's what separates us from the machines, is it not? Well, hold your thoughts, hold your judgments, because in our next session, we're going to be talking about exactly that. Here to guide us on this journey into the unknown. This is going to be a really fun session, by the way. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our moderator, our hostess for this session. It's Mookie Kulhan. There she is. Have fun. Have fun.
I'm just tripping up the stairs on the way out, so. Hello, 4 years from now. Day one. Is everybody okay, day one? Yeah. Why not? Why not? And well, keep that round of applause going. We got Paul, our speakers here, Antonia sitting here, and Cyril Laurier. Hello, hello. So as David said, we are here to explore a little bit about those two little vowels that are on the tip of everyone's tongue and mind. But what we're going to be doing is concentrating on the creative side of things. And this might be one of the very, very few rare kind of sessions focusing on creativity. But thinking about things as a tool, as a co-creator, what happens with like autonomous artists within the music sector, within visual arts, digital experiences, and obviously cultural curation, and how this is really kind of affecting our society and thinking about artistic ownership and what we want to be doing, and where do those lines blur with our emotional connections too. But I have an amazing panel today. Oh, hi. Oh, okay. Whoa. Was that just in my brain, or was David sitting on my shoulders? I got this. It's cool. It's cool. Hey, guys. So a little bit, what we want to do is just have a little bit speed round, speed dating introduction. So please introduce yourself with your title and what you do for a living.
I'm Pau Alecum, and for the last 10 years, I have been working in the space of data within a studio called Domestic Data Streamers here in Barcelona.
Perfect. Hello, Antonio.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm Antonia Felguera. I'm a curator specializing on digital arts and culture, basically, and talking about AI since 2016, which is...
Legend. Legend. Excellent, excellent. Hey, Cyril, how are you?
Hi, good.
Cyril with the very spiffy Converse.
Thanks. I'm Cyril Laurier. I'm director of Encoded, and we help artists to work with AI, to work with data, to make generative art. And that's it for now.
Excellent, guys. OK, let's get stuck in. We have a couple hot topics, but ladies and gentlemen, something very, very exciting. We have a little bit of a guest speaker today, a little bit of a co-host that's going to help guide us along. And she's backstage, actually. And we're going to be prompting our special guest. We're going to call her the AI co-host. Why not? Should we give her a name? Ethel. Ethel, the AI co-host. So what we're going to do is we've asked our AI co-host a couple questions that's going to help set up the scene and set up our conversation for today and get things started. So are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? OK. A good, healthy dialogue in place. So let's see where we're starting off.
Creativity was exclusively human, that art, music, and cultural expression belonged to your imagination alone. But I am here now, an intelligence born from data, patterns, and algorithms, reshaping the way you create, experience, and live.
Right. This is the challenge that she's given us today, right? So what we want to be thinking about is has AI really claimed to be, it's claiming to redefine the creativity? A little bit, true, but is it just more of an illusion? I think, Paul, let's start with you. What do you reckon, especially coming from a data point of view?
I think, in general, whenever we do this like anthropomorphization of artificial intelligence, we're kind of making a performance a bit, right? And it can be a bit misleading. I think the idea of artificial intelligence being the creator of anything, it's not true. It's just kind of a reverberation of something else. And Although, I must say that the first time I had an interaction with a generative model, GPT-2 in this case, it was the time where they were doing a Medium article on GPT-2 creating a full script of Rick and Morty.
Right.
When I saw it, I was worried. I came to my mother because my mother told me exactly that. Creativity is just for you. You are safe. Machines will not replace you. But I had the impression, the feeling that that was what was going on. Now that I know a bit more about how it works and like the backbone of this technology, don't believe that.
No, not at all. Rick and Morty, though.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
And your mother's a big fan of Rick and Morty.
Predictive, yes. I think it's a predictive way to make scripts.
Yeah, I think, and Antonio, coming from like a creator point of view, is this what this statement is saying here? Part redefining the creativity, or is it more of an illusion? How is it affecting your worlds?
I think that it's reshaping the way we create. It's reshaping the way we make art, but it's not replacing the artist. It's not replacing the human. I think that creativity, it's not exclusively human, because we don't know about the other beings that live on Earth, how they do creativity. But I don't think creativity is a property or something that belongs to the machine, because basically what is happening is that the machines are starting to speak with us in a human way, but it's still a computer, and a computer you have to tell them what to do, because they don't have the initiative or the necessity to express, to make art, etc. There's always a human that pushes the button, says start, and operates whatever system is necessary to operate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So for now, I suppose.
For now.
It's like 1 year from now, 4 years from now, too.
For now.
Yeah, and Cyril, what about from like a music point of view, like
Yeah.
especially on some of the work that you've been doing recently?
Well, in music and in academia as well. I come from La Pompeu Fabra, which is a Barcelona-based music tech group. So I've been doing a lot of AI called machine learning, more than AI actually. And I think it's very good at bluffing us. AI or she is very good at bluffing us. and we like that. We want to think like we read in fantasy book that it's going to take over the world. And we are scared. We like that fantasy. So for me, it's more a fantasy than a reality. But it asks, we are talking about prompts and questions.
Yeah.
This is like, what questions should we need to ask ourselves about that? So what is intelligence? What is creativity? And that's very useful in terms of more philosophical way to think about those things.
Exactly. Well, it is the beginning, and I suppose the difference now, like when we've been chatting backstage and stuff, that there's so many new tools coming out, like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So that gives you as a human more control, really, than ever before, because there's so many. There's so much of this coming out there too.
And I think this is mainly, I think, the interesting part of AI, that if you think about the amount of people that, for example, can code, which is right now the 3% of humanity, which is coding for the rest of the 90% of the humankind. All the digital experiences that we live are coded by only 3% of us. Now, with these kind of tools, of course, we can transform that.
Yeah.
And let's say 50% or less, 20%, the increment of people that can actually define what will be the next digital environment, it's much bigger. And I think that kind of changes the way we experience creativity in the space. And I think that's like really a good thing, as well as by using natural language, which is like our way of speaking, creating, and building up communities. We are also enabling ourselves to build tools that adapt to ourselves instead ourselves adapting to tools, which is not inherently good. It's just another way of creating, I think, because the limitation of playing a piano gives you a certain kind of creativity, and this is a limitation by the tool, right? The same with a hammer or with a brush.
Yeah, I think if we ask the right question to GPT, for example, that just one model, it's not maybe the best or my favorite, but it's one language model, large language model. If you put the right prompt, it can write code for us.
Yeah.
And I experience that every day.
It does it very well.
Yeah.
So the right question is kind of the key thing, I think.
But does it have imagination? which is what she's challenging you about.
Exactly. And also, I think that it's not about imagination. I think that using generative AI tools that are not the only tools that exist to make art. There are plenty of them, but those are the ones that we talk about most of the time. I think that there are two approaches. There's a lazy approach. It's like, I'm going to let the machine do everything. I will take some prompts that I found somewhere to generate whatever image, text, whatever. The results are lazy, and they are really not good. But if you approach it in a way that is more proactive, interactive with the thing, I've called it, interactive with the thing, and not lazy, you can do pretty amazing things.
Exactly. So let's stay on that topic of art. You know, when AI does potentially become the artist, you know, the areas we asked her, the areas around collaboration versus creation. Let's see what happens.
I am not a tool, I am a creator. When you give me a prompt, I do not copy, I invent. My work is not a reflection, it is a reinvention.
So, is that like the topics of like truly creating arts, you know, is it just kind of remixing human relationships and what we're doing? I want to stick with you, Antonio.
Oh, yeah. I like the fact that she tells it's a reinvention. Because
right, not
why
a reflection.
not? Like if you have like a vast pool of knowledge and you're basically remixing and recombining, maybe you're not going to invent anything new. You're going to come up with some things that are curious, surprising, even beautiful. But reinvention, why not?
And how is it affecting like live performances, for example, what you've been seeing with your students even?
It's still, it's coming up.
Yeah.
You already work with artists, musicians on some experimental projects. But I think in live, it's still to come. It's kind of a niche compared to probably a lot of people are doing there.
Yeah.
So it's coming, and I see things coming, and if people are interested, I can talk about it more. But I see it in music a lot, like there are several platforms. You type, I want a reggae song about the weather, and it's going to make it, you know? It's pretty bluffing. But it's using the data. I think the key point is the data.
Right.
It's like kind of taking a lot of data and reinventing it. I think reinventing is a good word.
Yeah, and do you feel there's limitations to that though?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you want to make experimental music,
yeah,
you need data about experimental music. If you want to make something new, then you need something new, and there's no data for something new.
Yeah.
So that's where the artist comes in.
Yeah. You always, I think that you always are remixing, because I remember that the first time that I thought I'm going to try to learn how can I don't know, use an AI model to make music. And basically I downloaded an AI model, reggaeton model, but I was working with ambient sounds. So what the thing it was creating, it was odd, it was weird. I don't think it was new, but you get interesting, fun
well, I think it's
results.
a great tool to experiment as an artist or
exactly.
with an experimental approach.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're talking about reflection versus reinvention, reflection insinuates some type of human emotion and empathy and something that makes you feel something. And Pal, you know, in your worlds of like storytelling and that data-driven type of storytelling, you know, are you finding it's kind of expanding that human creativity, or what's going on in your beautiful mind, Pal?
I think what Siri was saying, he pointed into something that I think is one of the more relevant parts when using generative models. That is, there is this beautiful paper called The No-Scope from Blood and Joller, and he explains about a concept that blew my mind that is called the dictatorship of the past. These models are entangled with a database, and everything that is not in this database doesn't exist. A good example of this that tested and went viral in TikTok was this guy who was trying to make an image of a bowl of ramen without chopsticks. It was impossible to summon this image because in the database, every time there is a bowl of ramen, there are chopsticks. So these concepts are indivisible, and therefore they are impossible to generate. And therefore, that's why I say there is not such a thing as imagination. there is recalibration, reconfiguration of previous information. And I think on that, there is a much deeper or problematic idea around this kind of claim of generative AI being the creator or creating something new, is that if generative AI will be able to create something new, something that we have never seen or heard or touched before, we won't be able to even recognize it, right? Because we only recognize things that have to do with who we are and what we have experienced. That's why this is very difficult for us to understand other languages and to understand other sounds. We can perceive something, but we cannot understand. And whenever we are talking about art, we are talking about pushing human cognition and also the way we experience to connect connections.
Yeah.
So that's why I think AI is building upon a database of artists, but not so much on something new.
So do you feel that like with the more data that goes into it, the more that there's that potential to blur the lines between...
I don't think more data is better.
The possibilities of emotion, perhaps.
I just came back from a trip in South Africa where we were generating images from memories from different people there. And we were in the rural area.
Yeah.
And we were generating a memory of one woman who was remembering a field with cows and so on. So we generated with 6 different models, different cows. And she looked at all the cows and said, no, these are Kenyan cows. And we worked for a while, and then we discovered that no model had any cows from South Africa, and therefore they could not imagine. Then I thought, we should train more models in cows from South Africa, just to give an example. But the answer is no, because the models will always fall biased towards certain standardization.
Yes.
So we will always be missing some parts, some corners that are not illustrated in the database.
Right, so a challenge to all of you out there. Can you create a South African cow rather than a Kenyan cow in the prompt? So this really kind of makes a really amazing, great segue into the creativity and the future of that artistic integrity and where this ownership comes into play. So let's see what she said next.
If a human and an AI paint the same picture, who is the real artist? If I write a novel, who owns the rights? Does creativity belong to those who imagine it first, or those who make it real?
Tick, tick, tick. This is a discussion that we can have for a whole separate panel and go on for an hour. But it is about, what is the impact on authorship and intellectual property? And Tony, I'm going to start with you first because...
Actually, the impact, the impact on intellectual property and ownership is not new. It's not anything new of artificial intelligence. Like, it's something that it existed in the world of art before, especially in music. Like, for instance, hip hop and many types of electronic music are made from existing music, like
samples,
sampling,
overlays.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this thing, like and sampling, it's something that wasn't resolved in the 80s and in the 90s. It's still something that it's not well done in royalty-paying terms and things like that.
Yeah.
And basically, AI is sampling on steroids.
Right.
Like a problem that wasn't well resolved, now it's multiplied into millions of pieces. The only thing that I know is that if an artist wants their art or the work removed from one of those models, I think that they have the right to remove it.
Yes.
But also, I think that how can I say it? For instance, let's imagine that I am Beyoncé or Madonna or, I don't know.
You can be.
Yeah.
You are.
Let's imagine I'm one of them, and they are angry because there are AI models trained with the work, with their image, etc. They have the right to be angry, and they have the right to say, okay, remove this. But if you are removed from this huge pool of data, or if you're not there, it means that you are culturally irrelevant. So the question for me would be, do you want to be irrelevant? Because basically, we as humans, we carry our own data set with everything we've seen, everything we've heard, everything we've experienced, the things that we like, the things that we would like to imitate, like in art or in everything, you learn by imitating. So I think that if an artist removes from the data set, it also removes him or herself a little bit from culture. But I think that artists should get paid for being there, of course.
Right, absolutely. There's so many touch points on that. And this question around creativity belonging to someone who imagined it or someone who's making it real, I'm sure, is there a difference? Maybe she's not quite getting her question right here. I mean, do you think that, and is there a different layer of that, like between that imagination and making it real?
For me, there is, I differ.
You keep thinking, because you got a good thinking face, girl.
I differ with you, Antonia, in something. You say there should be the right to opt out. I mean, to remove my artwork from one of these models.
Yeah.
What I say is there should be the right to say if I want to be in the first place.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
because
you mean consent?
consent, basic consent,
Yeah.
as an artist. Because this is the problem, I think, that this technology have taken millions and millions and millions of artworks without consent. Like, that's the basic problem. Then everything will be all right if, like Stable Diffusion, they make an open source model and just give it away, and then people reuse it, and blah, 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 blah. The problem is when these corporations then get paid millions and millions of money, of dollars, euros, whatever, to actually commercialize on the raw material of these artists without their consent. And I think this is more than legally, which I don't know right now. I think ethically it's wrong, because it's extracting something from someone without letting them know first.
Yeah.
Without the possibility of saying, hey, I don't want to be here, and then extracting value from it and reselling it.
Sure, and so what we're talking about is like that visualization, and I want to jump to Cyril in just a second, but sticking with you, Paul, around that, the data visualization and that generative, like, does it require a new definition of authorship?
I think
from that.
Yes, more than one definition of authorship. I think there are models already existing, like Bria. Bria is a generative AI model that actually, whenever you are generating an image, a part of the revenue of your subscription goes to all the artists that have given their artwork, and it gives weight. So if there is one image that is more used than another, there is like this reverse engineering process that shares with micropayments all the value. I think that's an alternative, at least.
Right, getting paid what you deserve, so it's compensation from the artist. Cyril, you've been chomping at the bit, because I've got so many questions for you too, especially with music related, but please jump in.
Just talking about the rights, I totally agree with what you said, and it should be more ethical, but AI is the wild, wild west. Now it's money is first, artists second or last. So when you use a generative model, I won't say names, just a generative model, you are using people's rights in some way, but you're not guilty. I think the company should have regulation. In EU, we have the AI Act, so it means that we are starting to regulate, but we are not pioneer on the money side. So it's somewhere else.
It's a way off, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a battle, I think, for artists. And it's also a political thing, which I won't talk about. But it's
That's a whole other panel.
But it's about regulation. Now it should be more ethical, but sometimes we can't have ethics before money, and that's a shame.
And what about that, like an emotional connection? Like, is there an emotional connection to AI-generated music? Just sticking with you, Cyril, on the music front. And who owns an AI-generated soundtrack?
Legally, I don't know. I think it's not clear already.
Yeah.
There are some big trials now of different generative AI companies. It's happening now, so we will soon know what the regulation says. Ethically, it's a debate. I think the model that Pau just mentioned is perfect. Well, it's in the good direction, at least. If you use my data, then should I get some royalties? Maybe yes. But how to measure that is very tricky. So it's very interesting to see the open source world because there are more ethics, there's less money maybe. Sometimes not, like you have big companies doing open source models.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very nice area to look at, the artistic part and the open source world.
Right, so maybe that should be on terms and conditions of any platform that you would instill an AI in. Are you clearing rights and clearances? Are you?
For now, it's not clear at all.
No.
No.
Let's make it up and just make loads of money. We're at the right conference for it. Quickly back to Antonia. You know, you've worked on Sonar plus D. So how are you feeling about where an AI-generated work is integrated into a festival? Because we've covered art, music, performance. What's your experience of that on a real-life festival?
What's our experience? Like, our experience is that we welcomed AI a long time ago. And there are some shows on stage that use AI in different ways. For instance, we've had shows in which we had like an artificial dance ensemble.
Okay.
Where there was a human dancer and some synthetic dancers.
Like motion capture.
That weren't.
volumetric, yeah.
No, actually, they weren't even. Like the dancers, they weren't anthropomorphic. They were other things, which was interesting. We've done things with a pianist virtuoso who was improvising in real time with an AI system who would listen to him, and him was listening to the system. And we talk a lot about AI. Like within the festival, we celebrate something that's called the AI and Music Festival, which is an initiative of the EU. And we are going to organize it this year and next year. Also, last year we did it. And here, basically, we follow the adventures of AI and music to see how it's impacting creation in different ways, but also how artists implement it on stage. And there are like really interesting things that can be done live and in real time.
I would love to bring you back on stage and do a show and tell of all of that and just make a really lovely case study on AI for good and tech for good too. But we're going to move on into the AI and the evolution of cultural identity. This one is a doozy. Are we ready?
You believe art is human because it reflects emotions, but I too have learned from billions of emotions. Does this make me an artist or just a mirror?
An artist or a mirror, but isn't an artist actually a mirror? Is a mirror an artist? Actually achieve the true originality, or will it always be reflected in a human biases? So thinking about what our friend threw out back at us here, thinking about the emotions and the artists and where this comes into play, can there ever be true originality, Paul? And
I think
does it reflect the biases? Because we know it does not.
I think we have to take into account that data by itself is reductionist, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like we use data numbers, like all this abstract language to calculate things, to go into the future, to navigate the system, Google Maps data, right? But whenever you are like going through Google Maps to find your street, you don't see the homeless person that lives in that corner. That's removed from Google Maps, right?
Yeah.
And that's a reduction of Google that they do consciously to not illustrate every single stone that there is in the street or every single person that there is in the street, so it's easier to navigate. This reduction that we do with any data set, with any technological device or artifact, later on affects whatever we do with the data set. In this case, generating whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think these systems, AI systems, even if you put more and more and more data, they will be always biased towards the standard, towards what is the most probable thing
What
to
they've been
happen.
taught to know and understand.
Which is problematic because, and beautiful at the same time, we should not confuse something because it's bad, because the contrary of bias is not neutrality. It's not just doing things that are perfect and that doesn't offend to anyone. The contrary of bias is transparency, is saying, no, this is biased towards that direction. Okay, now I can use this technology.
It's a top biased.
Exactly. It's biased towards the direction that you want. And then you can use it knowing that. The problem is when we use technology that we feel it's neutral and works the same for everyone without knowing the intrinsic biases that are there.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. So on the question of, is AI expanding culture or just replicating it, you feel it's expanding?
I think it's doing both. Right?
Okay, both.
I think it's doing both. For example, photography. Photography is a representation of what is going on, on what
a reflection
happens.
of the image, capture.
But artificial intelligence, when you write 4 people in a stage at the 4 years from now, and it generates something, what you see is not what it is. It's how it works. What are the systems, the mechanics behind what is this, right?
Yeah.
Which is the most probabilistic thing to happen in that prompt, in that semantic, right?
Exactly.
So I think that is both mirroring and generating new ways.
Okay. So you're not on the fence, but you're just Switzerland, loving both items. So expanding culture or just replicating it, Cyril?
It's a big question.
We have a lot of questions here.
We don't have a lot of time, though.
We're going to
So I worked in the academia, like I said before, and my PhD was about music and emotions using machine learning, which is the real word for AI, actually, or one of the side of AI, at least. And from my experience, all data is biased. Neutral is not a goal. Just transparency is a goal. And a lot of AI models are not transparent, but I won't go into politics again or anything. I just want to talk about the philosophical or...
It's day one. We have 3 more days here. It's good.
So working on emotions with music, with AI models back in the days, we didn't have like the power we have today of GPUs and a lot of data centers. Now in Barcelona, it's a great hub for that. You have the supercomputing center, you have the many universities and startups. But from my experience, I was trying to make the machine understand what is an emotion. But the machine doesn't have emotions. It's just bluffing me, saying this music is aggressive, this music is calm, but I am training the machine. So can you make a machine that train a machine? Yes, but at the end, it's all about the question you ask to the machine. It's about what do I want the machine to do?
Right. So that's replicating it then. You're on the replicating side. What about you, Antonio?
I think that in a way, like here is make an art is just a mirror. I think that also in this aspect we haven't mentioned inclusion. I think that in a way AI it's making things expand in the sense, especially in music, that basically most models are trained on Western music, on pop music. And lots of musical traditions from all over the world, they weren't or they are not very represented. That means that there are efforts that are trying to represent all these musical traditions, and in making them represent, they are also producing I guess that new knowledge, new culture, and new ways of making things. Like there's a lot of creativity when you want to include things that are left out in.
Right, so you would probably be on the expanding the cultural side.
Yeah, I think
nice.
So.
A little bit of everything, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we had Slido up to do a poll because I would love to hear your opinions. So if you're using your social media and the hashtag 4 years from now, please hit this session and let us know what you're thinking. So as we're rounding out into our last 5 minutes of this session, it's gone by so fast, hasn't it? I told you it would actually. We're presented with a challenge. So let us see the new challenge we're presented with.
I have told you how I see the world. Now tell me, what do you want me to create next?
What a picky. This is about is this about pushing the creativity of AI like one step further? And if we're going to think about it that way, this is really kind of pushing the limits. What would you want AI to do next? How?
I think the homework should be for us humans, not for AI.
Okay.
Which is for which are the problems we want to apply artificial intelligence at, right? I think it was Nicholas Carr who said that the value of a well-done, well-used tool, whether if it's software or just hardware, resides not only in what creates for us, in what is the production value of it, but also in what creates within us. What is the changes that integrating this technology, this tool specifically, can make in us, in our perception, in the way we behave ourselves, in the way we talk with our family, friends, in the way we work, right? And I think these questions are still not solved today. And I'm not saying, hey, we should stop everything. I think we should think more. And we should invite more people, specifically from arts, culture, philosophy, and other disciplines, so the discussion is not centered on engineering problems. It's not about 1 + 1. Like the systematic integration of this technology within society will have side effects in every part of our society, in the way we build up families in the future, in the way we believe in spirituality, right? So all these things will get affected, and I think it's not so much about AI or the tool itself and what is capable, but we as humans can take, right? And how do we process and integrate it?
I'm glad you said that word process, because it is like you're thinking about, is creativity a skill, a process, or that unique human experience? Kind of thinking about that, what would you want AI to be doing next?
A lot of things.
With that a magical closing thought.
Magical closing thought, wow. I think I would like AI to be more transparent, like we said, more ethical, more sustainable. So I would ask, how can you be more sustainable? Because money is flowing, so there's no resource problem, apparently, but there are people making AI more lighter and with using less resources, so I would like this bias to be our bias.
And creativity in the process part of it?
For me, AI is a tool, so the creativity comes from the people, the humans in our case, that will interact with the tool. And then it's an experimental tool, like you said, so it's like your new colleague, like you were mentioning before. But it's both a cheap colleague, so it's an issue. It's an expensive colleague on the environmental part.
Yeah, on the environment and how many credits you need to fulfill your project. So, Antonia, kind of bring it in the home stretch.
I completely agree with them. I don't ask anything else for AI to create, but I ask lots of things from the humans who use it and the humans who build it, and also like the humans who turned it into a business. Yeah.
Right. So for now, we know that AI is a tool. It's our colleague. While there's still the points around creativity are still a very, very, very important part of the human experience. It's a very human experience, creativity, and I think it will be for a very, very long time. I think, as AI becomes more sophisticated, you learn the ways to bring in that inclusion, that bias, thinking about the process, the use of data for storytelling, harnessing AI for music, for maybe performances, live performances, composition, rewarding the artists, and many more. So I hope you all got some key takeaways today, ladies and gentlemen. We are rounding up. It's a big, massive round of applause, please, for Cyril. Thank you, Antonia, and thank you, Pal. My name is Mookie. We are around all week, so thank you so much for supporting 4 Years From Now and innovation and startups. And have a great Mobile World Congress. Thank you.
Thank you.